Hey everybody, how you doing today? This is Ryan with Mr. Wheels podcast. I do have a question here for my guest here, and also what my guest can ponder as I read here. What does healthcare for everyone mean when someone needs a wheelchair, a personal care attendant, long-term therapy, or gender affirming care? What does a safe public school look like and for the disabled person or the LGBTQ student? When the candidate says we should put cultural war politics aside, which rights are still negotiable? And I just want to introduce my guest today, Branden Scrivener. Answer those kind of questions directly. Welcome, Branden. How you doing? Thank you for being here.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Okay, just tell me a little bit about yourself before we continue.
Yeah, so I'm a working class husband and father of two. No political background specifically, but I'm in the human service profession. So I have a human service degree, kind of like social work, just more general. And I've worked in healthcare for the last 3 years. So I've had kind of direct experience with vulnerable populations. And that kind of led me to want to make a systemic change to help the most amount of people that I can. I used to think I wanted to work one-on-one with people, but as I went through internships and experiences, I kind of realized that there's these systems in place that kind of cascade down and cause many different people, different problems.
Okay. Well, according to my research, you're an NPA, which is no party affiliation. What made you decide to do that? I'm seeing a couple of your videos, so I just want to be put in my show. So describe what NPA is.
Yeah, so that's just no party affiliation. And I've been that since I registered to vote. So I'm not like a Democrat or Republican or anything else that just flipped last year to try to fool anybody. Like I've truly been independent. And independent and no party affiliation is kind of interchangeable. So when I say it means the same thing for me. And basically that just means I don't subscribe to a specific political party. I think both major political parties have their own form of corruption within them in the form of, taking corporate money, listening to lobbyists over real people, promoting, foreign interest rather than American interest. And I feel like it's really kind of been like this for a while. And I always hear people talking about, like term limits or campaign finance reform or healthcare for all these things. But then it feels like nothing ever happens. So that's really why I wanted to jump into this.
Well, I just want to make a disclosure before we begin. This is a voter information interview, not actually an endorsement. So I want to put a disclaimer out there for those. I've interviewed for about 5 different candidates in different positions. I just need to make clear that this is not an endorsement for anybody. So.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, for being an MPA candidate, what was the first hand that made you move from the frustration to running for office for Congress?
So it kind of happened a little bit quickly and at the last moment. A lot of politicians I hear kind of get in a couple years before the election and try to, build themselves up or whatever, shake hands with the right people. Just living through my life, seeing prices increase, seeing the struggles my kids face at school, and all the harmful rhetoric out there, just made me want to get involved. And it's a conversation that I had to have with my family that took some time, because politics lately, it's not necessarily the safest career path. So that definitely, yeah. So, once I got the go ahead and everybody was on board, I just jumped right into it. This year, also in Florida, they were redistricting. So they're redrawing the maps. So that meant the requirements for me to make the ballot was a little bit less than it would on a normal year. So that is also something that made me decide to run. Yes. Yep. So I did not. To get on the ballot, you either need a bunch of signatures. This year is about 3,000, or you need to pay about $7,000.
Okay.
So I did try to get the signatures, but as I said, I'm working class. father, so I've got a lot going on. I did not get enough signatures, so I ended up having to use my family and myself's own savings to get on the ballot to be an option, because I've come this far and I'm not going to back down now.
Okay, I want you to, without actually giving the name of a patient, what barrier did you try to eliminate through the federal legislation regarding to your profession?
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, no problem. From your healthcare, is that correct? I just wanted to make sure
Yes.
I had that right.
Yep.
Okay. Without naming the patient, what barrier did you try to remove? And
I see.
try to apply it to the federal legislation, because you're gonna have a lot of gridlock. So
Yeah.
try to find like a story that you can relate to be determined. I mean, be determination to do it.
Sure. Yeah. So in my healthcare job, I work as a case management assistant. So I'm kind of helping moving patients to the next level of care. So I see a variety of patients experiencing a variety of different things with a variety of emotions. So I think having that empathy and ability to listen really will assist me in Washington, kind of being open to have a discussion without necessarily pointing fingers at someone just because they're part of a party. I think the nonpartisan thing helps a lot too. Uh, Also, I have experience a little bit working with different organizations in the area that support the patients once they leave. So I have those connections. So I know, where the services need to be had. I also see the direct results of Washington's decisions on my patients in my hospital. Like there's been a lot of talk about insurance changes recently and about how they're cutting cost, and patients are going to be afford this, and we're going to be seeing more patients come in from the street for assistance, and all of that is the result of policy.
Okay. I kind of go. I'm gonna go to your website here. Yeah, as you
Sure.
know, I'm an advocate for the disabled community as
Mhm.
well, the LGBTQ, and I noticed on your website is very vague language as far as your positions. Like the campaign material that we reviewed does not set out a specific disability rights platform or the LGBTQ rights as well. But it does not address anything regarding the ADA or individuals with disabilities. How can you today rectify that? What positions regarding to the Olmstead Act? Do you know what that is?
Yeah. So as far as that, um, I try to be more specific when I can. My website is very basic because I don't have that party funding, so I don't necessarily have the room for everything. But definitely, I want to make that an important factor. Like I said, working with in human services, I've worked with people with disabilities. I have family members who happen to have disabilities. Um, so I'm familiar with the needs, and I know that people with disabilities are often kind of put on the back burner when we talk about human rights and of the sort recently. Um, I hear more about, culture war topics or race or these other groups of people, and not necessarily um, those with disabilities. And I think that needs to be rectified, and we should be including everyone. Um, and making an equitable world so everyone can succeed.
Mm-hmm.
If that means, really, it's like changing the perception that people have, because I find a lot of some people have the perception that someone might not be capable of something or kind of judgmental, and I think that has a lot to do with not having knowledge of it necessarily, of just having that judgmental first thought. And I definitely, the ADA, American Disabilities, is important. I think we should be strengthening those things. I don't think we should be cutting them or suggesting um, that they be reduced or that people could just take care of themselves. I saw recently there was a memo about calling into question certain resources for people with disabilities. Basically the language is like, if families are doing this, we shouldn't have to pay for it. It was regarding Medicaid. And I think that's totally harmful and wrong. Um, you're not in someone else's life, so
Right.
you shouldn't have that much say over
I
someone
mean,
else's life and
are
what
you
they
very
need.
familiar with the Olmstead Act regarding to that? Because right now, there's 7 states has filed a lawsuit against the federal government about protections of the Title II of the ADA, which is basically an individual decision to decide where to live, what community or within a family. What's happening with that is that the state is going to be defunding that, not to defund it, but won't enforce it. So if they decide to not to fund for home care, they're going to force you to go to the state-run institution. So how would you run against that? What legislation will you come up with?
Yeah, so I think it's just I honestly I don't have all the answers, and I don't 100% know the disabled community. I'm not plugged in. I'm hoping to learn more and be an ally where I can. So I don't want to make false promises or say just a bunch of baloney that I don't know much about. What I will say is that my policies are really focused on systemic change, which I believe will help um, everyone really.
So
So
more of a universal policies that you want to try to implement.
exactly, yeah, and systemic changes as far as like when we talk about term limits, when we talk about uncapping the House, I think we need proportional representation. I think we need transparency and accountability. Just really cleaning up the systems that are in place because they were kind of built from the start to protect a certain class, and we need to get back to helping the working class, and the working class includes everyone. It's not exclusive of anyone, in my opinion.
Well, I'm gonna kind of get back to what we're because right now, you said universal programs can pretty much help pretty much everybody, but equal access sometimes requires a targeted protections. Do you agree that some barriers in the need community specific policy? For instance, I live in Tampa, and there's um, there's parts of Tampa where it's not accessible at all. What can we do? Because if you, this is what I've learned is that um, if you make it accessible for the disabled, everybody benefits. So
Right.
if you make it specific for general, not everybody's going to benefit from it because everybody has a different idea to what is general policy to do.
Sure. Yeah. For me, when I think about um, for general, I think about equitable and accessible. So when I'm thinking about general, I'm thinking about um, how can I ensure that everyone gets what they need? Like, for example, if there needs to be a ramp or something, that's what I'm thinking about, those things that would benefit the community as a whole. Like you said, there's certain things that are specific that would help specific groups of people, but those same things that would help those specific groups of people would also benefit the public as well, in my opinion.
Okay. I'm going to go on to the different topic here on disability and healthcare. From what I read, I use supporting universal healthcare for basic healthcare, including hospital care, primary care, and at least some specialists. You have also suggested that private insurance might remain for additional specialized care under for more of a stronger regulation. What kind of strong regulation are you referring to?
Yeah. So, um, I would love to see just a care that's completely covered, universal health care or Medicare for all. But my worry is that it needs to be more of a gradual thing. So that's why I say start with like a basic universal health care where you have coverage for PCB visits, some specialists or whatever. And if you want to get into specialized care, maybe like, I don't know, like plastic surgery or something, depending on the reasoning, that could be, an insurance thing. Some other specialized specific care that, maybe, I don't want to say not needed, but, more optional. Basic life care, to live should be supported.
Wait, are you referring like preventative care or
yes,
because there's different definitions within that, because the problem is with the disabled community is that we don't just do basic. We have to do specific. Like for instance, I have epilepsy. I have to go to the neurologist about twice a year, and then I have lymphedema. I got to see a doctor. They help me out with that. I got cerebral palsy. I see doctors on a regular basis. So basically, what the word "basic" is a term that does not really reflect on specialized healthcare.
Gotcha.
Okay,
so that's good to know, to change my language. I appreciate that.
Language.
Yeah, would you put out under the public of the plan?
Language, sir.
Yeah, so I would definitely want to make sure that specialized care would be covered, so that
for instance,
like I said,
wheelchairs.
Yeah,
My wheelchair itself. I have one coming next week. I'll order a new one, and by law or by per insurance or Medicare, typically it's every 5 years. And do you know the average of a wheelchair right now? For an average, like a power wheelchair that has been 18 hours in. Do you know the average cost for it?
I don't know the average cost.
On average, it's between $20,000 to $75,000.
Yeah, that's
9 times out of 10,
insane.
You would get denied a couple of times.
Yeah, and that's what I see too at work, is the insurance denies so many things.
Yeah. Because a lot of us, especially with someone that has cerebral palsy that's worse than I do, I had to go through physical therapy and occupational therapy on a regular basis. That can rack up a lot of bills because typically the co-pays are between $20 to $50 depending on the plan, of course, but it can add up real quick on that part. Is there a way that you can have a plan where the co-pays will go away?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I hear what your producer is saying too, that I need to be more educated on this topic, and I appreciate that. And I would agree that I should look into this more specifically, as far as the disabled community. I don't have a good answer. Why this is not more on my mind and I feel like it should be. I feel like it should be on a lot of people's minds, and I want to be a better kind of leader. So it's a bit embarrassing for me, personally.
No, it's okay that you don't know. We're not here to attack you. I just want to make that clear. Because there's a lot of things that a lot of politicians. It's one thing to be really fluffy because you got to. Politicians had to be that way. But people like me, because my producers also had cerebral palsy, and she doctors quite a bit as well. I'm going to kind of go on to the Medicare and Medicaid here. Would you protect Medicare and Medicaid as a separate program and fold them into the new system, or redesign them altogether?
Well, I think they would need to be redesigned if we're talking about some form of universal care. I think that in itself means that it would need to be, changed from its current status quo. And I think doing that would require consulting not just insurance lobbyists, but like actual patients with experience and actual physicians. I think that's part of the problem in Washington is everyone's listening to lobbyists and not real people. And that's what I want to be. I want to be someone who listens to real people. That's because I feel like no one is.
All right, I want to go on to, because that's a really good segue where I want to go now. as I'll talk to you about a governor, not governor, but a independent running for governor yesterday, David DeJesus. I asked him, referring to what would you hire someone or a company where they have no disabled people to where you do a consultation aspect of it? Because a lot of times companies and governments will hire somebody that is not handicapped at all they go is by knowledge. So can you tonight tell me that you will commit a rule that a disabled person can help design the whole benefit package regarding to accessibility and different coverage decisions that will value the life of the individual person receiving that care?
Yeah, for sure. I think that people should be involved in that decision for sure. And like I don't have specific knowledge of everything, so the only way for me to get it is to collaborate with people with real lived experience.
Yeah, I mean, my main thing is for you to consider to find someone who is knowledgeable regarding to that. Someone who's doing a wheelchair, someone that's with a walker, that type of thing.
Yeah. I hear you. And I'm already learning a lot from you guys too. So I appreciate that.
Your healthcare message says that the system should serve all Americans, regardless of background or political belief. I wanted to make that very specific. Would the universal plan cover gender affirming care when it's medically indicated? Would it cover HIV prevention, treatment, fertility care, mental health services, and delivered by providers trained by serve LGBTQ patients as well? And that's a lot, but I can break it down if you prefer. I can kind of go on. Like, for instance, would that completely cover the HIV prevention? Because within a community, the HIV is a significant higher case per a cis family, like a straight couple.
Right. Yeah. So I think whatever care you need should be decided between you and your doctor, and you should be able to get what you need. I don't think it's the place of the government or for me to tell anyone else what they need or what to do with their body or any other decisions that they make for themselves with a doctor. I'm not a doctor, so and the government isn't either. So we should get out of the doctor's hair.
I want to make it very clear, because anybody no matter what demographic you're in, someone's brown, someone's black, or someone's it's going to be disabled could immediately tomorrow. My community is very unique. It's non-discriminatory regarding to people getting sick and getting a disabled disability.
Yeah.
Okay, would you support federal rules regarding to insurers and hospitals and publicly funding providers from discrimination based on disability and sexual orientation and gender identity or sex characteristics? Because right now, I could be wrong on this, but there's a couple of hospitals have turned down because of their gender identity, and also the orientation as well. They were Christian hospitals because based on their faith, they have to turn them down. Is there going to be something that you can, crack down on that from discrimination?
Yeah, so I think that's another human rights issue, right? You should not be turned away from life-saving care because of how you identify or how you look or anything of the sort. So there definitely we can strengthen those civil rights that we supposedly have to ensure that everyone is safe and covered. Now, another part of that is the way that the hospital structure is itself. There's like private, not for profit, there's like all different kinds of hospitals, and I don't know every single type of hospital or how all of it is structured, but I'm sure that that plays a role in it as well. And that specific structure of how it's made will probably needs to be regulated stricter as well.
Very true. According to a couple of things I read about you, you oppose diverting public funding to private and public funding to private and charter alternative schools. How would you try to prevent that from happening?
Yeah. So right now, let's say in Florida specifically, a lot of the funding that was going to public schools, some of that is being diverted from the public schools and going to these voucher programs. And then those voucher programs are not being tracked accurately. And there's a bunch of money that they just like, I don't know where it is. So I think enforcing, regulations and transparency in that sense would help. As far as like, public school kids, they get like a lunch number or something that goes with them through school and it tracks them and whatnot.
Yeah, they already have that already. I used to be a teacher
for voucher
for 20 years. Yeah, they have a student number, and it will keep track of how much. It's kind of like a bank account, and the parents, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm saying that they should have that sort of system for those students on the voucher program, so they can keep track of who is on the voucher program. Do they actually qualify? What is that voucher? Where is that voucher money going? Essentially, and I'm not advocating for taking parent choice away. I think it's important for parents to have a choice.
Oh yeah,
and I think in a lot of instances there might be reasons to pursue that voucher program and to go to a different school that would meet the student's needs more than the local public school. And I'm totally fine with that. Not against that. It's just about how that money is getting there. I don't think public students should suffer because of the voucher programs.
Right. What would you do at the federal level to strengthen the special education in the schools? Because right now they defunded the paraprofessional funding for them. So they used to, when I was teaching, they had 5 paraprofessionals in the classroom, and they knocked it down to half. So instead of 5, because typically a special ed class would have between 10 and 15 students tops. They typically try to get 5 in there, but now because of the fact the funding is no longer there, it's down to 2. So how would you be able to find the funding to start that back up again to add more paraprofessionals?
Yeah, so that for me, the funding question comes from what are we funding now? We have the funds to support wars, support war crimes, to support corporate bailouts, corporate or bank bailouts.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you know what a paraprofessional?
You can explain it if you like.
Okay, a paraprofessional is a person that is like a teacher aide that is assigned to a specific student or multiple students, and they're trained for that specific disability. Like, for instance, if a kid is having a tantrum, how to handle that, and also the diaper change, all that kind of thing. That's what it does. It's assisting the teacher without stopping the teacher from teaching.
Right. Yeah. And totally, I understand that. I'm sure I've seen that going through school myself. I just probably didn't realize that's what they were doing.
That's okay.
Yeah. But for the funding aspect, I think it's just about prioritizing, people first. So that means cutting funding from those foreign interest, from the corporate bailouts, from cracking down on loopholes that the billionaires and trillionaires use to avoid taxes, and using that, money to support things like those paraprofessionals or that expanded universal health care, or expanding Congress. Any of these things that I would propose that would cost money, and it's just about rebalancing the budget, really.
That's correct.
What is our priority? And I think from my priority is people.
As you know, because a lot of development and disability, mentally disabled kids typically would opt out, like inappropriately, that kind of thing. Because there's been a couple of schools that's been not, got busted for putting a kid in the corner, restraining them in that kind of chairs. Uh, so. Um, how would a family enforce their rights when a district fails to provide the required services? And that kind of goes back into whether paraprofessionals is applied. Because there are times, like I said, the paraprofessionals are not funding.
Right. Yeah. So at that point, I would hope that our elected leaders or the school board would help a family specifically out with those issues. But I know that doesn't always happen. I've had things happen with my own kids at school, and it's just it's tough because, like I said, I'm trying to answer that, but then I'm thinking about my own experience with my own kids in school, and it's not the greatest. So. We need to expect more from our leaders and call them out and hold them accountable, I think.
I understand. Are you aware, that typically the pay for a paraprofessional is between the $12 to $18 an hour. From what they experience, they should be a hell of more than that. What is your price point for pay for someone that does that kind of work?
So I don't have the knowledge of what I know you just told me, but I haven't thought of that specific price point for that specific job. But I will say that I have thought about public education teachers just in general needing more pay and supportive programs. So that same kind of thinking I would apply to that role as well. Now again, I'd have to make sure I know everything about it and I'm up on it to be able to apply that. But I think in general, Florida ranks horribly in education across the board. So teachers in general need support.
I think 35. I think 35 right now.
Yeah. And a lot of people talk about how teachers are, the community heroes and they deserve more and whatnot. But then nothing really goes on to help them. So I really want to be a force for teachers, and that would include, those paraprofessionals as well.
Okay, great, awesome. When you talk about school safety, your examples are mainly involved with food security and gun violence. But LGBTQ students are being reported being bullied and isolated, and for fear of being outed. The schools right now, I can't remember it is in Hillsborough County, but there are some school districts are going to require if a student even talks about their sexuality, they're going to tell the parents. How are you able to protect a child? Because there are times where the parents are very conservative and they may not have the same viewpoints. So how would you protect that child? What ways will you do?
Yeah. So that is a tough one to answer. Federally, I think the thing I can do is set requirements and federal, the Department of Education as a whole is supposed to lead public education and set the example. So I think if we go back to strengthening that and maybe outlining more, then that would support those students as well. But from that specific student, I feel like it's a local specific thing. As federal, I can advocate and I can pass, funding laws and human rights, focusing on those things. But I don't know how much influence I would have over the school district in it itself as a federal representative, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, the problem where I mean, as the Department of Education has been dismantled by the
Yes,
Department administration,
not good.
so that kind of that hurts a lot of things because a lot of that money that they disperse is related to the special ed and the paraprofessionals. So
Right.
the state is trying, or the county, or provide, both of them are trying to find funding for that kind of thing. Where do you stand on the names and pronouns and restroom access, sports participation, and so on? How would you go about, because there are some schools that required if their kid decided to say, "Hey, I'm going to go by a different name," or do you their pronouns? Because there are schools that will require that the parents have to be notified. Do you support that, or how would you go about stopping that if you were to?
Uh,
I know this is very specific. I know,
yeah,
but
yeah,
this is my audience, and these are very
yeah.
important things.
Of course. So I think for me personally, my personal opinion doesn't really matter in this context. I feel like, because as a representative, I'm representing. If people want to have boys, girls, multi-gender clubs, sports, whatever, totally fine, up to them.
Do you believe it should be locally or should it be on the state line, statewide?
For the school districts,
Yeah.
specifically. So I think that, statewide would provide a lot more protection for everyone. So I would say, statewide. Now I'm not going to be running for the statewide. So more federal.
I understand.
Yeah, more would be.
I mean, I could have reworded according to your congressional area. That's what I mean.
Yeah. So really, for my congressional district, it's again more about that funding and advocating and setting those standards. So like supporting the Department of Education, supporting human rights in general. That includes LGBT and people with disabilities and everyone else. Really about restoring and strengthening the things that have been and are currently being disabled. And to mention, I am running in Florida District 12. I see that question being asked, so I just want to clarify.
As you know, a lot of disabled people are not able to drive. So, especially in the area where I live in a more rural area outside of Tampa. There's not much of a transportation. So, from your website supports expanding public transportation as an alternative to traffic and expensive auto insurance, because that will benefit a lot of people like me. So, would your transit plan require accessible vehicles and stops and reliable elevators and audio and visual announcements and so on your smartphones?
Yes, yeah, for sure. We should be making a world that is for everyone and accessible for everyone, regardless of where they are specifically. And just as a disclosure, I can't drive that often myself. Obviously I drive, but my partner does most of the driving because I have narcolepsy. So
Okay.
I know what that is like too. So that's also kind of my focus on public transportation as well. Because I got to go places too. So
You say that the government should need to have a warrant to access the consumer data and should not be able to buy any personal information from a data brokers. Would that protection cover location history, disability, and medical information, and reproductive care and gender information, and so on? And the data could reveal someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. Would you create a private right of action so people can seek relief without when companies misuse the data?
Yeah, for sure. I think that our consumer data has been, you know, taken from us for a while now and kind of compiled. And we're seeing that a lot now with the anti-flock movement
Mm-hmm.
specifically. Um, you should not be able to, the government or any form, the local, federal, state, shouldn't be able to just go buy your consumer data and compile it on some list somewhere and use it for whatever they want without a warrant. Um, I don't think we should be living in a surveillance state, and that includes like any personal detail. Anything you mentioned or anything else should be private unless you choose to make it
Yeah,
public.
right, exactly. Uh, as I stated before, I do live in a rural area, and from my apartment to my work, there's over 5 flock cameras.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. What they're going to be doing with that kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
one go up around my neighborhood recently, and people should be informed, and I feel like people should vote on these things, right? Because it
I
affects all
agree.
of us. So we
I
should all
agree.
have a say on if it goes in our neighborhood or not. I
Hmm.
didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, exactly. Would you support the disability enforcement with regard to workplace accommodation and non-discrimination protections of the disabled and LGBTQ community? Would you open up a funding for companies that need to dip into like for instance, this is something from the previous interview I've had. They came up with a good idea is to have a pool where a certain number of employees in the company will have to give a percentage of their funding under their profits into a pool of money and disperse it when a company needs to do modifications for one of their employees. Would you, be open to do that?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I don't have. I
Because a
feel
lot
like
of
that's
lot of
like
a
a
lot of companies cannot fork over $10,000 or $15,000 if there's any modification that's required to do that.
right. Yeah, and I think some of that too is the culture of corporate America a little bit too. I'm there's I mean the small businesses, they need more assistance for sure, but like the larger companies, um, there should probably be more regulation in place to ensure that those needs are put above those extra profit margins, and you know people's needs should be placed first.
Um, Going on to relationships with disabled people, and also as a single person. As you know, there's a maximum of what a person can have in their bank account as a disabled person is up to $2,000, and that's been that way for the past 5 to 10 years. Would you alter legislation about raising it up to $10,000, a maximum of how much you can have in your bank?
Yeah, um, that seems a little bit silly to me that there would be such a low requirement or
Especially when rent is between $1,000 to $2,000.
yeah, exact. And like just life in general is expensive. How can you tell someone to you can only have $2,000 in your bank account? Like nobody should be telling anybody that. Have
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Well, I mean, the reason is because if you're able to have more than $2,000, you should be able to pay for the things yourself, and that's the problem. And also, as with marriage, I was going to get married to my ex fiance. She's on disability as well, and we were going to get married. But if we looked into the laws of it, if we were going to get married, one of us would lose our benefits,
Mm.
and that would punish people from getting married. So a lot of people, a lot of my friends, are not married legally because of that stupid law, where it would take away one income and put it onto one. Would you support and author a bill to get rid of that?
Yeah, for sure. That to me, that sounds like almost like a human rights violation. Like,
You would think.
yeah, that's insane. Now, this conversation has been incredibly eye opening. I'll tell you that. Some of these things that you're telling me, I kind of knew a little bit, but hearing them come from you and more in depth really
See, that's the
solidifies
point of this whole conversation. A lot of people
yeah,
don't do that. This is why I started my podcast. This is why I do what I'm doing, and this is a very important thing. And people say the same thing. The people that I previously interviewed, they are like, "Wow, we didn't know all this stuff." So a lot of them are, having an opening eye. And hopefully, if anybody that I interviewed possibly work together, that'd be cool if we were to win.
yeah, yeah, and that's definitely something that I'm going to and need to focus more on. It's almost like our culture and our systems were built in a way to kind of dismiss certain people with disabilities, which is unfortunate and should not be the case, and I don't want that to be the case, and that's not my intention. So I definitely need to correct that for myself and for my district. That's just you just given me this revelation. Like, this is insane.
You posted a video. Let me find it record. In one of your campaign clip, you said the cultural war issue should move to the back seat while the country focus on structural reform and transparency and accountability. But some people might welcome that. But others will hear it differently because of the fact your healthcare and family and classroom and legal identity is being debated, and it does not feel like it's a distraction. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if like I said, refer to as the fact I'm an LGBTQ community member myself, and so these things are very important. I mean, we are a very small population. We're fully aware of that, and unfortunately, people put us in the back burner for that very reason, and they don't want to face it because my co-host, my producer, we're very advocate. We are loud about it. So,
Yeah.
so this is
I
why
love that for you guys. You should be. Yeah. No, and I don't mean when I say that, I don't mean it to be an attack on the individual. I mean more that politicians are focusing this rhetoric against certain groups of people rather than addressing the systemic changes that would actually help that group of people or everyone in general. Like proportional representation that would help everybody, but instead of doing that, they're going to talk about bathrooms. Something that to me, it's like it's just let people do what they're going to do. Do it safely, of course. But well, it shouldn't, in my opinion, it shouldn't be like the main thing on the Senate floor talking smack about a group of people. Like, we should be fixing things and addressing the systemic systems in place rather than just point fingers over here and blame this group. And then next week we're going to blame this group. Like, that's more of what I'm thinking when I'm saying those things.
Okay. Would you commit hiring another individual person regarding to make every decision and try to keep your campaign promises to give you a guidance of how things should be regarding to the eyes of a disabled person? and also, and also creating a constituent advisory group with a meaningful power to review any legislation that might be left that would leave out disabled individuals.
I would definitely love to have that be a part of my campaign and my platform. As far as hiring someone, right now though, because I
No,
am.
not right now. I mean, if we
Yeah,
were
yeah,
to win, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah.
Well, of course,
Okay, yeah,
right now
then
you don't
yes.
have the funding to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say right now I'm independent. I'm not a party. You know,
No,
I.
I get it. I get that. I totally
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it. Yeah.
No, that's definitely what I'd be interested in, and it's not just for that community. I would want advisors in various communities with various professions. Like I said, I'd rather get information from someone going through a real struggle or a real teacher or whatever than some lobbyists just trying to make an extra buck for their company. Like
Right.
I really want to focus on us.
Okay. This is going to be pretty much the last policy question. Name one concrete action for the disabled constituents and one for the LGBTQ that you would pursue during your first 100 days in office.
So I think the most shocking one to me was that 2000 that you mentioned, only
Yep.
being able to have 2000. So I think that, like, already I'm thinking I need to know more about that. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's one of the first things that I would address or try to address. And for LGBTQ, I think it's just supporting language and human rights and kind of like we had some protections, but a lot of them have been stripped away and are being dismantled. So I think one of the first steps is strengthening those institutions and those things that were once there and ensuring that it actually lasts and isn't able to get changed in another 5 years retroactively, and that's big systemic things. Like I said.
Um, I see your website is very bare. So where can my viewers find your information besides YouTube or what you have on your website? Can you possibly make another added page to the website where my listeners and watchers to go to?
Yeah, so I have my website. I have social medias, Facebook, Instagram. I was working on another website, a better website, but I need to get more funding, frankly, in
Right.
order to make that feasible, to make that operable. Right now, I have, like you said, kind of a bare website, and I totally understand that, and I agree. And that's one of my priorities in this campaign is updating that website because I know it's important.
Yeah, very
You
important
know,
because a lot of people, disabled people, don't want to go on a Facebook, and I know quite a people that our friends part of they don't want on any social media for different reasons. So a website would be more accessible for them to get into, whereas Facebook or any other platform requires them to make an account. So
sure.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. And I try to go out a lot in the community too, at local events and whatnot. But having this conversation, I definitely want to see where your community is at and how I can get to them directly, if at all possible. I want to pursue those things.
Okay. How can they contact you besides your website?
Yeah, so they can email me. It's brandon.scrivener.fl@gmail.com. That's the easiest way. Shoot
Okay.
me an email. Like I said, I work a full-time job, so I might not respond immediately, and that's why I say prefer email over phone, because I can get back to that easier when I have the time.
Well, Brandon, I just want to say thank you for being here. It's been a very good conversation. Hopefully, I opened up a couple things in your eyes that you didn't think about before. So that's my goal is to kind of challenge people and make them to think in a different direction. As an able-bodied person, it's a different viewpoint. So I'm glad I was able to help you out.
Yeah, for
so
sure. Yeah, and I appreciate that. You definitely challenged my thinking and came at me. But I appreciate that. I need that confrontation and those hard questions asked.
Yeah. I mean, well, I just want to say thank you. For listeners, I just want you to know I did update my website completely, revamped it. So for my listeners, go to my website. I have new merchandise. I have other things to contact me through. Please, just want to say thank you for listening. And until then, you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, man.